What's going on, guys? Hey, it is Anthony, and today on Garage Talk we're gonna change it up a little bit. Actually haven't been feeling super well, so I haven't been able to get out on the V-Rod as planned. Plus the weather hasn't been very good, as far as it's been raining, it's been super windy, and it's just not great riding weather. I did get out for a short run, but that was about it. We also did get the Camaro out as well, which was always nice to do. We've got some wicked upgrades coming to that, but today I want to talk more or less about buying used parts. So if you guys, let's see, there we go. If you guys have been watching the channel at all, you've been seeing that I've been buying a bunch of used parts for the F-150, and for obvious reasons. If you're a gearhead of any kind, you're more than likely bartering parts and pieces to cars, whether you're doing a restoration or you're trying to build up your car or truck or motorcycle or whatever it is. So one of the things to note, I've bought a lot of parts. I've bought cars, motorcycles, all kinds of stuff off of Craigslist, off of Facebook. But I just wanted to talk real briefly about buying used parts and a couple of tips. So one, I'm going to show you, I got this K&N. Let's see if I can get it. My desk, as always, is a mess, but I've got this K&N kit that I'm going to be putting in the F-150. So if you look at it, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good, right? I got that for a steal of a deal. I actually wasn't even looking for it. I just so happened to be on, I think it was on Facebook Marketplace. If you guys don't use that, check that out. Find some local groups. Or Craigslist or whatever, but this one was found on Facebook. The guy gave me a killer price. That thing retails for about $250 all the way up to $400, depending on what site you get it from. Now, I got it for, I'll tell you, $60. I mean, so $60. It's in good shape. It wasn't nearly as clean as you see it now. Let me show you again. So if you look at it, there is a little bit of scraping right here, but other than that, I mean, it came out super clean looking. And then I just cleaned the filter. So, excuse me. One key component though, when you're buying parts, now this is obviously a simple part, is number one, price check. Always price check used versus new. And the reason I say that is sometimes individuals overprice their items, especially when they're reselling them, to where it's comparable to new. I've seen that many times over. In fact, when I was looking at a set of black headlights for the Ford, there was a guy I was going back and forth with, and it's like, listen, man, these are on Amazon for $100. You want $250? Come on. And of course, they get pissed, and you know, I just move on. I'm not there to lowball the guy or to screw with him on anything other than, you know, what's the deal. The other part you want to do is so obviously check new versus old, or new versus used, excuse me. Check Amazon, check your local stores, whatever it is. The other part you want to make sure and do, if there's parts and pieces to whatever it is you're buying, because more often than not, like just like with this kit, and this is a really good example, is the guy's like, hey, this fits your truck from this year to this year. Okay. More often than not, they don't have a part number. They may have, obviously they should have who made the part, but like in this case, it's like, here it is. So I simply went to K&N.com, looked up the kit, and then they have instructions. Now the cool part, if you're looking up most auto parts or accessories, and it's got a lot of parts to it, you can normally find the instructions. And the instructions are important because if you're going to do an install, this is simple, but you get into something more complicated or something even simple and it's missing a critical part. Oh, excuse me. I'm still getting over the sickness. Then you're going to have some pretty major issues. You may not even be able to install the item because you're missing a weird bracket or some kind of part that was manufactured specifically for what you're putting it in, so you're going to be running around looking everywhere. So I would highly suggest looking at the instructions before paying for it. Try to get as much information and do your research. No matter if it's $10 or $500 or $5,000, if you're buying something used, you want to make sure it's going to fit, it's going to work properly, and everything else. Now, to me, there's nothing wrong with buying items used. Obviously, at this point, you guys have seen me, and I'll do a full review of the used parts I put on it. I've got kind of a funny, cool video that I'm going to do with that. But I have no qualms whatsoever buying used, with the exception of I need to understand who made it, and does it have all of its parts? What condition is it in? And then condition, so condition also should play a critical role. Now, something in great shape that's barely used, that's what you want to compare to brand new, right? So if it's beat up a little bit and you're like, well, I can do X or Y. If you have to do anything to it, a good example of that here, I'll give you a perfect example, is I got the Raptor tonneau cover. So the Raptor tonneau cover is charcoal gray. I'm thinking that I'll probably end up getting it painted black. Well, that cost me $400. Now, to get it painted, I have a buddy that runs a paint shop, so we'll see what he says. But I know a couple other guys that have had theirs. It's right around $400 to $500. If I paid, we'll say $450 to get it painted, A, it's going to be a brand new paint job, which is going to look great for years. But B, that still puts me at $850 spent on the tonneau cover. Now, that tonneau cover brand new is $1,500. So I'm still well below the new marker. So you guys need to just think about that. It's not rocket science by any means, but I would highly consider that. And then if you're selling stuff, you want to sell, normally you want to sell at reasonable price. I'll tell you that right now, you're never going to get what you paid for it unless you got some crazy one-off item that no one else can get. More than likely, you'll never get what you paid for it. Now, that's a very common mistake that people make. One of the most common that I see is someone gets a brand new truck, they swap the wheels and tires, and then they're asking $2,000 for the OEM tires or $1,500. No one's gonna pay that. Unless you got some crazy ass wheels and tires, more than likely, no one's gonna pay it. I've seen it dozens and dozens of times over. I've done it, everybody does it, but you're not gonna get it. So back to used parts though, there's so many great examples of getting great deals on used parts. Now, if you're going to install, what I would suggest, if you've got, like I've taken off a lot of parts on the Camaro, and like the dash pad here, the carbon fiber dash pad that runs right there, the start button, I keep all of those parts. And here's the reason why. If I go to sell the Camaro at some point, then I'm going to reinstall all those old parts, and then I'm going to sell them. It goes the same for the tail lights, the third brake light. We have a wicked new spoiler coming. We've got a diffuser coming. We got a new hood coming. I'm going to keep all those parts because when I go to sell the car, A, you don't get crap for those parts. B, I'm sure I can recoup some money that way. In fact, that is what's paid for. So on the Ford, because I had some of the Chevy parts and then I went over to the GMC, I moved those parts from the Chevy to the GMC because ultimately it was the same truck. And then I sold a bunch of those parts, those wheels and tires I sold. I still have the intake, I'm selling that. The floor mats, and a couple other odds and ends I bought for the truck. Now, am I getting full value? No, but I will tell you that I'm getting value back out of it. I spent X amount of dollars. I used it for a couple of years. I think that, yeah, I should lose some money on that. I mean, that's just reality. But then I use that money to get the majority of the parts that I've gotten for the truck that I have now. So it's kind of like, flip or flop for whatever. So that's buying used parts. I just thought it was kind of an important, kind of a cool or different topic that I wanted to touch on. So we will be putting the intake in the truck. I think I'm going to talk, well, we'll see what the next video is. I've got a couple other tips and tricks videos that I want to talk about and keep going on. So all right, guys, thanks for tuning in to the Wrenched Out Garage Talk. I'm Anthony. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on buying used parts. Make sure and hit the like button down below. That's the big thumbs up. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure hit that subscribe button. We do appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next video. So take care.